I've started the warehouse, so stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Eastway. And you can see I have started the warehouse and this will be the main entrance and the doors will be here and there'll be windows going around the side. And obviously the building will come up generally that shape. Why have I curved this off? Well, I need to get down there, don't I? So, you know, I'm not going to block off my access purely because of the shape of a building. Now, but you might also be thinking, well, what's all this grid around here? Well, the reason being is because the height of one unit as printed in the kit is 10 millimeters lower than this. And I need to get to this height so then I can then start having stacked layers on the top and removable layers at that. So I can get to each layer and also get to the track if I need to. So that's why I've created this like stage, if you like. Now, obviously that is just, it's 9mm card, and then I'm planning on putting a 1mm over the top. So I went ahead and made this template out of A3 paper, and it's literally just a case of put some tape in, cut it in, change it, cut it about, put more tape on, and so on until you get the shape you want. So I then went ahead to make this, which is 1mm card. And obviously I've then gone ahead into the kit and found some flooring that I quite like, and I've had to adapt it ever so slightly just to make more of it, but that is going to work very nicely in there, and it does fit, I promise you. And you can see it needs a bit of patting down, but you can get the idea from there, can't you? So I think once that's in, that should be good, and then it's a case of creating an interior into that, but that won't be just yet. Now the side walls, there's going to be a blank panel going in down there, but then these are the parts that I've been cutting on the Cricut machine. Now initially this is the door section, so I did create the door section with this extra piece on the bottom, so that will then slot into there like that and then be glued up to those pillars. They're slightly off kilter at the moment, but that will soon tighten up. And then I'm going to 3D print the window frames or the door frames that will go in there. And the idea would be that this become more of a modern style entrance to a company which is quite a professional company, even though it's set in an old Victorian mill, if you like. So, you know, I think there's scope, and part of the kit comes with this whitewashed wall, and to be honest, I quite like that. And I think once that's glued up, kind of like that, all nice and tight, if you like, in there, I think the window frames will fit in there very, very nicely indeed. So it's a bit fiddly. There are some bits to glue together and overlap and all sorts of bits and bobs like that, but I think that will be absolutely fine. I am going to put some steps here, 3D print some steps, and there will be a grass bank coming down here and another grass bank coming down here, sort of to create like a pathway entrance. This isn't going to be an entrance for a car park. I'm not sure how it's all going to pan out at the moment, but there probably will be some kind of loading bay at the back there. Whether I have lorries coming in is another matter, because the lorries are quite big. Seeing them at the show last week, they're huge and probably, well, almost a foot long, and I don't know whether I want to have lorries, so it might be a van type entrance or a small lorry, you know, it's like a 7.5 tonner type thing, but we'll see how much space we've got in this area at the back there when I get that far. So the idea would be that I build this up, get this bit done, do the interior along with the back wall there. Quite like that curved back wall at that point, and just create a professional looking entrance for a business, maybe a couple of settees, that type of thing, drinks machines, anything like that you'd find in a business entrance will be there, I think. I'm not going to show literally every single bit breath by breath, but I'll show significant points and things like that when I've got something sensible to show. Okay, catch you shortly. So what's happening here then? And here, and here, and here, and not forgetting here too. So indeed, what was all that about? Well, first of all, before I talk through the details of this, then this, as you can see, is a card extension, and it's got card coming out all the way around, but the whole thing was starting to sag, and I need it level across all three parts there. So from that across here to here, absolutely smack on level. So when I put the next level on top of this, it doesn't leave any gaps. Otherwise I'm going to have an overlapping lip, which doesn't always look that great. But anyway, I'll talk through these extra bits shortly. So just having a quick look at some of the details here. As you can see, I've got all the windows in all the way around, and they are glazed both sides, so the window bars do look the same from both sides, and then you've got the plastic acetate sort of sandwiched between the two 3D printed parts. Now obviously these are the doors, so you notice there's some handles, and strangely enough they're staples that you get from a regular stapler, and 3D printed steps with 3D printed railings there. As going inside, you can see, as I pointed out, you've got these extra rafters, which is a 3D printed part, and because one side does tend to come out a little bit rough, you might be able to notice there from the top there is a plastic card face on the other side, and then we've got this extra ribbing running all the way around on each of them. You could probably make that out. Okay, now the other thing as well, you can see there is a wooden floor inside. Yes, that was a drip, and I'll try and see if I can cover that up with something else, but there we go, these things happen. So there we go, that's our wooden floor inside there, and then obviously I've put another layer of card, painted it dark green just to give a little bit of a bit more interesting interior, if you like. So the idea of this will be that it's quite a posh foyer entrance with some steps going up. There'll be some seating, there'll be a big counter going in here for people being met, coming for meetings and things like that. So obviously this is quite, I'm portraying it as quite a flourishing business even in 2026, but it's set in an old Victorian type warehouse factory type building. Now coming down to the outside, there will be some grass banks coming down here all the way, just all along this ledge. I will build up a little side piece and then pack it with, say, toilet roll, that type of thing, put grass on the top. And this section here will be a path going into the distance with a wrought iron type gate fitted around about there. Maybe even with a little picture, if I can find something suitable to go in there to give the impression of extra depth, that the path goes somewhere. If not, I'll just put a bush in there to cover up most of this black area and give the impression that the pathway is literally just overgrown, that type of thing. But that should come on quite nicely. Anyway, let's go and have a look at some of the things that are going to go in there. Okay, so I've gathered up everything that I've printed. What I didn't want to do was just to show you one thing at a time, because that can get very boring very, very quickly, whereas actually make it and then show you afterwards a little bit closer look than what you would see on the layout, I think is a bit better. So obviously that's a door that's going to go into the back of the green wall, 2 windows in there, that's been glue and glazed. This canopy will go over the front entrance, so to hopefully just make that a little bit more interesting. Then we've got some coffee tables, there's a couple of those, and they will sit with the settees. So the idea would be 2 settees facing each other with a coffee table between them, 2 sets. Okay. They came from Thingiverse, and I just downloaded those, make them the right size, and just print them off. I must admit, when I scaled them to 76 scale, 1 to 76, they did come out smaller than that, but they didn't look quite right. So I've made them ever so slightly bigger, just by 2 or 3 mil. Then we've got 2 vending machines, 1 drinks machine and a food machine, again from Thingiverse, and I've just painted them how I want. This one is recessed, those bits are recessed. Now I don't know whether I can show you the glazing that's in the front there. If I don't know, it's going to show it, is it? Yeah, there you can just about see there is a glazing over the front of the items, so just done that just to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. These girders are going to be cut into smaller lengths and then put between the ceiling girders, so this will be like more decoration going along the back of the green wall, if you like, cut up into little bits just to make that back wall look a bit more interesting. I do have to decide on a name for the business that's the warehouse is going to belong to, and then put the company name on the back wall. Don't know yet. And obviously some steps going up to the upper level. They do look a bit scary to walk up, but they have got some nice tall railings there, so you know, it just gives that little bit of a sort of modern airy feel. That's what I'm thinking. And there is a front desk, if you like, with a glass top, and then the people would sit behind there like that. And I've got to see if I can find some people sitting on stools to see if I can make them into receptionists, that type of thing. So anyway, I'll get this onto the layouts. Maybe if I can find the receptionists as well, print those off, that type of thing. And I'll show you shortly, and then it'll be a case of turning our attention to the outside, making the wrought iron gate and the grass banks and verges, that type of thing. That's going to go down the sides. Okay, catch you shortly. Welcome back. Now I've decided to do the bank first before putting the interior in, just in case I get any spills or anything like that. It'll be easier to deal with them whilst the interior is empty, and then I'm less likely to damage anything else, if you know what I mean. Now you can see I've put this rim all the way, and it goes all the way down there, and obviously there's that little bit just there as well. So I'm going to be using some toilet paper for this, just cheap toilet paper, nothing massively expensive. And I've got some PVA which I've decanted into a smaller bottle. Now first of all, if you remember, in this area I said there's going to be a gate, so the last thing I want to do is put grass all the way down the side. I will put a little bit, but after the gate has been made and I can see what I'm doing, so to speak. So first of all, I'm just going to put a line of glue in that sort of area there and sort of curve it in, if you like, and then take a couple of sheets of toilet paper, screw them up and sort of make the shape that I want. Just press it down into the glue, as you can see there, press it in, and then put some more glue over the top like that, and then just press, and the glue will start to soak into the tissue paper or the toilet paper, whatever you want to call it. I'm just pressing it as I go, and it will form like a papier-mâché like that, and you'll get some lumpy bits and soft bits. Now I think I'm going to add another layer, just one sheet at a time. So I'm going to fold this particular one, place that over the top like that. I want to come in that area, so more glue on the top like so, And again, mixing it round. Kind of like that. So it's not an even amount. That's not necessarily deliberate. That's just the way it's turned out on that bit. So you can see a person could still get down there, but you've got this edge there at the same time. I think I'll take that in just a little bit and then just smooth it off in the same way you would mod rock or plaster bandage, whatever you want to call that. I think, I mean, I'm not the greatest fan of plaster bandage, I have to be honest. I prefer to use papier-mâché type methods. One, because it's cheap, but two, I think me myself, it's a little bit more durable. But you know, we're each to our own. I'm sure there'll be many people out there who would advocate the wonders of plaster bandage. Right, I'm just going to do this little bit and then I'm just going to call it a day on cam. Okay, I'll catch you shortly. So there it is. As you can see now, all the papier-mâché is in and I've gone all the way down there as far as I can. Now, this method, just using a dollop of glue, neat PVA, not watered down, and then packing in the toilet paper and then more PVA over the top and literally just smoothing it down, is suitable for small areas. I really wouldn't be doing this for a large area. Two main reasons. One, it would take forever to literally go off. Yes, it would create a hard surface, but there is a possibility in the time that it would take to go off a large area, there is a possibility of mold setting in, and that's not a good look on a model. So if you do this, you want to dry it off as quickly as you possibly can. But not only that, the quantity of toilet paper would be astronomical. You'd go through several rolls, I dare say, if this was a much bigger area than that. And for this, if I've used 20 sheets, that probably is as much as it is, because one sheet literally just packs in quite nicely, and then just another couple of sheets on the top of each area, and you know, you can see that's built up quite nicely. That's obviously it's not firm yet, the glue's not gone off, but it has got a firmness to the top surface. It's not reached every top area against the backing card, but as soon as the foliage goes on and that, you can soon build it up. It won't be a problem. So as you can see now, I've also put the radiator on underneath, and I think that will be valuable just to give it a bit of a boost in drying, and hopefully it should be dry within 24 hours, certainly 48 hours. Okay, I will catch you later. Right, so there we are. That's about as much as I'm going to do for this video, and I'm going to call the lower story complete. So you can see now I've put static grass all the way along the edge and the odd bush and foliage in varying places. And not only that, I've now managed to put the canopy on, and you may just be able to make that out. Yeah, just about there in the distance there is the gate, and if I bring you forward, you can see those two signs there which are based on that gate. All I've done is remove the verticals and put the company name Boxify in there. So as I bring the camera up now, you can see where this area fits into the scene, and initially I did think I should have this bank sort of carrying on over this side of the viaduct, but you know, I thought, well, two reasons. One, that can kind of act as a bit of a scenic break, if you like, but also I'm sure you do get areas where you have banking one side and a bit of an embankment, and yet it's been excavated the other side, so I'm really not going to worry about it. But let's have a look at the inside. So you can see now it's all been kitted out and the inside is pretty much finished. So I'll start over here with the steps, and obviously there will be a cutout in this area ready for the next level, if you like. And there's the two vending machines, and going back this side you can see there's a seating area there for anybody waiting to have a meeting, interviews, whatever. And also the main Boxify logo. Now, just in case you wondered, I went on to suggest company names for warehouses, and there was a whole load of them came up, and Boxify was one of those. So I thought, well, I better just check that Boxify isn't actually a company, and there's certainly no website called Boxify. So I think I'm on pretty safe ground there, but even so, I'm just going to call it my own company, if you like. So there you go, there's the reception desk and a few 3D printed people there, and also that kind of fake girder running along the back wall, just to give that kind of industrial look, if you like. So I must admit, I'm quite pleased with the way that's turned out. And you've got whitewash walls inside, those girders going across the top, as I've mentioned. You know, I'm quite pleased with the way that is looking. And I think once the next floors go on, if you like, the upper floors, I think it will start to take on a brand new dimension. I mean, the next floor is going to be obviously the working floor, if you like, and there'll be another set of stairs going up to the offices and that sort of thing. I'm going to pretend there's a lift through that door just there, just in case anybody wondered. But yeah, there we go. That's pretty much it for this video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And I will see you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly Eastway. Take care of yourself, and bye-bye.